Earlier this week, North Korea's Foreign Minister Ri Yong-ho said the United States has declared war on our country. But come on, Ri Yong-ho, how scared can you be now that Trump has lost a war with 32 billionaire NFL owners? The Trump Report starts now.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, that's right. We are going to speak a lot about On Bended Knee on this very special installment of the Trump Report. I'm Christian Bladt at Christian DMZ. Don't forget to follow the show at Trump Report ABTV. On the other end of the desk is Scott Moore at SMan80. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that Chelsea Galicia could not be here tonight. I don't know why she couldn't be here, but oh my goodness, she's right next to me. See, look, if it can happen to the president that he doesn't even notice his own wife on stage. Chelsea, you can forgive me that I didn't realize that you were here.
I absolutely do.
That bit was going to work a lot better when Drexel was also here tonight, but he had an emergency where he was whisked away after the political beat, so he will not be here.
On assignment.
And in Scherable, Texas, I'm sorry, Brooks Lee also not here. But look, Chelsea really is here. That was just a joke. On Twitter at Chelsea Galicia. And all the credit for this choice and song to Marissa, who works here.
Brilliant.
She's just like, you're going to talk about that, right? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, so you have to use Bended Knee. I'm like, great. And my wife was very excited that we were going to use this song. So you see.
Does she know that they're still in concert? Like, I have seen them like 4 times in the last 2 years.
Well, you don't need to tell me because I took my wife to the Mirage for their Las Vegas residency, and she was very excited. Anyway, we could talk about Boyz II Men all day.
We could all show.
But Motown Philly's not back again, which actually that was a song that we used in the past too. So you see, there's always room for Boyz II Men. So the first thing we'll talk about tonight, obviously, is President Trump versus the NFL. There was a rally in Huntsville, Alabama on Friday, and at that rally, President Trump said, "Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, 'Get that son of a bitch off the field right now. Out. He's fired.'" And the NFL responded in a fairly overwhelming fashion with lots of on-field demonstrations or teams that did not come out for the national anthem. Obviously, we would have been very happy to have Drexel's part of this conversation, but I feel like we can certainly talk about this. I think it's a much bigger issue than the actual, not standing for the national anthem. And it's making a statement for a reason. And it all started mostly because of Colin Kaepernick. He took a knee. And a lot of people will say that that's why Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job this year. I think 2 things, not to get too into football here. If Colin Kaepernick was really good or willing to take a job as a backup quarterback, he'd have a job right now. But it doesn't help. There are definitely going to be, of those 32 teams, there's going to be a couple that are like, I'm not going to take the guy who did that. Sure. But he would have a job if he was a great player. So, that notwithstanding, I felt like it was nice to see that, sort of the brotherhood of the NFL, how many people, as a show of solidarity, and it wasn't everybody, but either didn't take the field or did take a knee or they locked arms in some different way. They all did something. And I think that this is the first of the things we're going to tally this week. And I'm going to say this is not a win for President Trump. So that's the NFL 1, President Trump 0. But Scott, your thoughts as this whole thing unfolded, but mostly when you saw sort of all cut together, all of the teams taking the field on Sunday, and I guess Monday too, since the statement was made. Give us your thoughts about Trump's statement and how the NFL as a whole, including guys like Tom Brady, who very clearly endorsed and voted for Donald Trump, how they all responded to this.
Well, I mean, just to go with the fact he just wishes he was an NFL team owner, and because he's not, he thought it was the perfect time to double down on his base. He thinks this is a winning strategy, but it's not. He's going after a smaller and smaller group of people, and he thinks somehow if he can retain that small group of people, it's going to help him for re-election and everything else down the road. a complete losing strategy, as we've already seen. And ratings are up, by the way, which he lied again about or was it this morning? This morning he lied about that on Twitter, saying that the ratings were down, and in fact, Monday Night Football was up last night. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that, and by the way, if ratings were down for a sport, I don't think it would have much to do with what people did during the national anthem, because in all honesty, how many people are sitting there in their chair watching the national anthem? And really, by the way, if it's such a problem, all these people who don't like players, who don't stand for the national anthem, well, they should stand when they're at home. You know,
exactly.
Please stand up.
Right.
But also, you know, most people, I'm going to bet, fast forward through the national anthem when it's on. They don't actually watch it.
And they're sitting on their fat ass on the couch, or drinking a beer, or whatever else. It's. I mean, if you're going to get into that, then start talking about people that wear their hats during the national anthem.
Yes.
You know.
I did a little study on on the U.S. flag code. I didn't even know there was such a thing until I looked it up, because I wanted to know what are other ways that you might disrespect the flag. Did you know that if you were to wear the flag, like on your shirt or something, or as a costume? Remember our friends based in LA and how he's got that hat? That's what it reminded
me.
Which
I've certainly seen other people wear, like
the Trump socks.
Hat. Yeah.
That according to the code, is disrespectful to the flag.
So Evel Knievel's whole career, I know it's an old reference, but he had the jacket and sure, okay.
Yeah, you can't use any like disposable utensils like a cup or a plate or a napkin that has the flag on it. You can't have the image of the flag with any words or things over it, so that any meme that you create with the flag is a sign of disrespect for the flag.
Wow.
And, you know, of course, holding it horizontal
So
and the ground.
what
but
Chelsea's here to say is that Captain America disrespects the flag by wearing it on his body.
And I have not seen Tommy Lahren
He's the only
and the
exception,
rest of
because,
them.
I mean, look at that body. That is an exception, people.
I have not
No one
seen
can wear a flag.
anybody
Wow.
protest the fact that there are flags on cups and people wearing the flag. I mean, even like, you know, if it's in a scarf or something, not literally just wrapped around you. And I haven't seen any protests about that. So if there are no protests about that, then I don't believe in this protest.
Well, you can
That
wear
it's
it
a
as a
sign of
scarf, but you just
disrespect.
have to fold it in the appropriate manner every time
Yes, that's
after you
right.
take it off. And it gets in the little triangle,
And
which
if you
I
don't-
never figured out how to do, by
neither.
the way. Yeah, so...
That's a skill.
Yeah, it's one that I don't have. Obviously, I think a lot of people have the thought that this was just some more of President Trump's sleight of hand. Like, hey, look at my stuff about the NFL over here.
Right.
Please don't pay attention to
Yep,
what's going on over
exactly.
here with healthcare and North Korea, neither of which are going well, which
And
we'll
the
get to.
hurricane.
The hurricane.
And the aftermath there.
Yeah.
And the private emails. I mean, the list can go on and on
Yeah,
and
so
on
it
and
was
on
like,
and
we're
on.
going to focus on this thing over the weekend. But then, of course, it doesn't go very well when you have, of all people, someone I probably like less than Donald Trump, Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, locked in arms with his players, who at one point he said they'd be fired if they kneeled during the national anthem. But there he was, show of solidarity. So even Jerry won't stand up, or well, you know, he won't stand up for President Trump. He'll take a knee for President Trump.
Money talks.
So, but the thing is, there's no real impact on President Trump from this. You know, it's just like, you know, everybody sees it. Everybody sees sort of the way everyone responds to it. And for not even for a second will he blink at the notion that, well, it's very racist to not, you know, to say you should fire somebody that takes a knee during the national anthem, because that's why it started, was to draw attention to Black Lives Matter and things like that. But, and I'm the millionth person to make the connection, but these are bad people in the NFL, but there were plenty of good people
in Charlottesville.
And marching. Those were the good people. These are the bad people. Just so for your scorecard, everybody knows now.
Yeah.
There's the good people and there are the bad people. All right, so that's what we know. And yeah, I think that I don't know. My impression was that the NFL is actually a lot more popular than it ever was before. I'm getting some kind of crazy message in there from Anthony that I was frightened by. And by the way, a little shout out to Sheila Jackson Lee, who took a knee in Congress. I believe that was earlier today. Maybe it was yesterday.
That's what I thought of.
I was not smart enough to pull a photo of that. And I also, so if President Trump didn't have enough fun taking on one sports league and losing, his took on the NBA. Steph Curry from the champion Golden State Warriors said he didn't want to make that traditional visit to the White House, which, by the way, this isn't that big of news because there are several people who didn't want to go with their team to meet President Obama. They just didn't agree with him. They didn't like him. Great, don't go. No problem. But this turns into a temper tantrum of, well, now the invitation is rescinded. And, I mean, I'm sure there are probably other guys on the team who were like, well, I was going to go. Thanks, dick. But at the same time, all he said was that he wasn't going to go. He didn't say the team wasn't going to go. He's just like, yeah, I don't want to go. So it gets, the invitation gets rescinded.
Trump can't deal with, I guess, rejection. So it's like, I'm going to reject you before you have a chance to reject me.
When you figure, I mean, you figure a guy on his third marriage should certainly be used to the idea of rejection. You know, I mean, when you get rejected by Marla Maples, obviously the bar is set very low. I'm sure she's a lovely lady. She's fucking sane. All right, I'm sorry. But it's not enough.
She was the only American citizen that he married to.
That's a great point. Yeah. And that's the daughter that he ignores, too. Poor Tiff Trump. Tiff, you're welcome to come on here. We'll change the name of the show to the Tiffany Trump Report if you want to sit on that couch. You know what? I'll sit on the couch. You can sit here. Whatever you want to do, Tiffany. Just let us know at Trump Report ABTV. And so then this Twitter fracas also involves LeBron James. You know, he's felt like he needed to get in on it. I'm going to guess LeBron James isn't a Trump guy. I'm not basing it on anything other than his tweets. So that's now President Trump is 0-2 in things that he was trying to accomplish in the last few days. He lost to the NBA. So I don't know. I'm surprised that he didn't take on the designated hitter rule in baseball this week. It's a joke from my friend Bill Narducci. I do have to give him credit for that, but I thought it was very funny that he's just like, keep at it. But then he gave a lot of credit to NASCAR over the weekend. I saw him tweeting about like how patriotic NASCAR is. You know, there's a lot of talk about how the NFL is very violent and the injuries there. How many people have died on the field in the NFL? And I know the answer isn't zero. But how many people have died in NASCAR?
Right.
I know of 2, and that's all I need to know, you know, because it happens. So, yeah, that's a good old-fashioned American sport. And look, if you like NASCAR, that's great. I'm just saying it's not safe. I'm just saying, you know, watch at home.
Right.
Cheryl, Texas, sounds like I got a cold. I don't know, does it? But thank you for that. And Rhino Jordan, welcome to the chat. Trump needs to send U.S. comfort ship to Puerto Rico. Absolutely.
I think it might be happening.
And
or maybe it should be sent here to comfort Christian and his cold.
And yeah. I just need some Ricola. You know, if they want to be a sponsor, if Tiffany Trump wants to bring some Ricola here into the studio, that'd be great. So what I was going to say, and I actually forget what I was going to say, was we could just move on.
I was just going to say Dale Earnhardt Jr. also did
that's what it was.
Respond to Trump as well.
Yeah.
Basically telling him to get over it. So,
and Lady Goth points out, doesn't NASCAR still have the Confederate flag waving? So not a great weekend for sports. Yes, Chelsea.
I was just going to say, Drexel mentioned that in Political Beat about how do you defend the Charlottesville, tiki torture bear who want to have the Confederate flag fly above and not say that that's disrespectful to the American flag.
Oh, it's very easy. Those people voted for him, and the NFL players didn't.
Right.
So, and I felt bad for the guy whose name that I've actually forgotten, for the Pittsburgh Steelers who had served at some point before he was in uniform. So he came out during the national anthem and he saluted. And then after the fact, it seemed like he was pressured into saying, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that to my team. I think part of the whole thing is just like, if you do want to stand, don't tell them that they can't. That's sort of like saying, no, you're not allowed to kneel. It's like, if you want to stand for the national anthem because of what it means to you, go right ahead. But anyway,
the same could be true, like you said, then the opposite.
Yeah, just either way, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look, that's the thing. It's, not to get into the whole debate, but, if you're saying that one side is an expression of free speech, then the other side has to be too. Just like President Trump with the tiki tortures. I like that you called them that. Tiki tortures. If we can put trademark and Chelsea Galicia, we'll definitely put that on you. So anyway, as I alluded to in our intro, North Korea is heating up, and I'm sorry, but tell me if I'm wrong. To me, North Korea is still like this kind of like nagging, like buzzing sound way off in the distance. It's a little irritating, but if you turn up the radio, it goes away. You know, I'm still not scared of North Korea, and I don't know. I say this most weeks. Tell me I should be. I'm just not.
Well, apparently Trump is because he's banned them from coming in.
But they already couldn't come.
I know.
But he had to explicitly put them on the travel ban.
Oh, I don't know. Scott, should I get scared? I know
No.
I ask you this most weeks, but
No.
I mean, it's, you know, unfortunately they need to be scared of Trump, not because he's Trump, but just it's like because of the artillery at his disposal. You know, if Trump decides to really go after North Korea, there's what he can do. So
Yeah, I'm more scared of our troops being drawn into
Yeah.
a drawn-out conflict and being put into risky situations than I am of North Korea actually getting something over here.
They're
that's
gonna send a few nukes over in a catapult. You know, they're not gonna actually detonate because they don't have the uranium or whatever you need for nukes. I'm not telling anybody to go make. Sorry, there's someone in the chat
Yes,
named
can you
No
get the
Eyes.
ingredients here?
There's someone in the chat named No Eyes Bunny. Hi, No Eyes Bunny. Can they wait for me to visit South Korea before the world goes to hell? No Eyes Bunny, what are you doing? Just stay home. Don't go anywhere. Come on. This isn't the time. Or, you know, if you go, just don't try and come back. But anyway, really, No Eyes Bunny really caught my eye there.
Caught your eye, no
my
pun
not
intended.
eye. And No Eyes Bunny also said the Confederate flag is not American. So make some friends in the chat room. Where's Stuart Yard resident? I haven't seen him tonight.
I know.
Anyway,
Seen him this week.
so we had all of these things, you know, and I still think, while I'm not scared of North Korea, I feel like President Trump is kind of losing that dialogue. So to me, he's 0-3 in these things, you know. It's just, and you can't say he looks bad as a result because he just looks like Donald Trump as a result, and that's the end result, basically. So we have that, but again, a lot of this stuff is just to distract us because there was going to be this big healthcare vote.
Right.
And earlier today, Mitch McConnell said that the Senate Republicans are officially pulling the plug on trying to repeal Obamacare, you know, until the next time.
Until next week.
That they try again. Because I didn't, you know, this one came up last week.
Right.
And up until then, I was like, okay, yeah, so they're going to move away from that for a little while. And, you know, it's been killed before. It'll probably come back again. There's been a lot of sequels to this. Nobody's asked for them, but we keep getting them. And sometimes people actually get to vote on them.
And
but
the
usually
sequels,
not.
like anything else, get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, right, exactly. We're at like Police Academy 7 right now. I don't think anybody's going to be too upset that I said that.
No.
Mission to Moscow, by the way. Hey, Stuart Yard resident.
There
Good to
he
see
is.
you, sir. And by the way, if you are watching on YouTube, these random names that I'm just blurting out, these are people in our chat. So enable the chat, join us, let us know. And if you're watching after the fact, you can still leave comments. Sometimes people tell me that I cut off Chelsea, but they're lying. I was just pretending that I didn't know she was. Thank you. That's fake news. Fake news. I don't know. Chelsea doesn't really let you stop her from talking. Anyway, that's the same joke as last time. But anyway, so the decision to, you know, pull the plug on this, which I guess is a healthcare joke, pull the plug. Yeah, I didn't even really think of that. This came 24 hours after Susan Collins of Maine said she was firmly opposed to the repeal. Okay, so that made 3. And look, to their credit, this is the way politics get done. Republicans tried to get Lisa Murkowski on board by saying that Alaska could keep the Affordable Care Act, which that actually surprised me that she didn't take that deal, because if you know anything about Alaskans, there's nothing that they would like more than to take a big old dump on the lower 48 and be like, hey, sorry, we got what we need. Screw you. But McConnell said, we haven't given up on changing the American healthcare system. We are not going to be able to do that this week, but it still lies ahead of us, and we haven't given up on that. But I don't know. I mean, they've given up on it for now.
Well, it's going to be harder.
Right, starting next week with the reconciliation process, because it's the end of the fiscal period.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. There's not a shift in the number of senators that I missed.
No, but that will be, because now they will need 60, and if they want to go back, because they also want to do tax reform.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, they can't do both unless they really try to do one big bill, and that's not going to work very well for them either.
Right, and so McConnell said Republicans are going to move on to their next big legislative priority, overhauling the tax code, which has not been accomplished since 1986. Chelsea, your thought about overhauling the tax code, and do you think that the Republican Congress are the men and women to do it, but mostly men?
I really like the idea of an overhaul.
But you just don't trust them to do
Good
it.
Lord
Right.
knows we need it. Do I trust them to do it? Not well. I don't. I wish I had more to say on this, but this one is pretty much.
So,
Next.
if the tax code ought to be overhauled, but you would want to see a Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, people sort of.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren had an idea, and off the top of my head, I can't remember what it is. Oh, I remember. It is that since so much data is collected on all of us, the IRS basically knows exactly how much we owe. So what we would get is a pre-filled out form that the IRS sends us telling us how much we owe in taxes, and we can, I guess, change, amend, or appeal what they think we owe. And then we don't have to do this crazy song and dance that everyone freaks out about, like, April 14th when they're like, oh, taxes due tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I mean, and look, there have been a lot of proposals. You go way back, people were really talking about a flat tax. There's a lot of things that seem like, well, sure, let smarter people than I figure out which one makes sense. Whatever they have now certainly doesn't seem to work. I seem to remember a lot of commercials when Arnold was our governor here, where he would talk about how people need to pay their fair share in taxes. And I agreed with that. I don't think people do pay their fair share in taxes. So it'd be great, but yeah, I don't think that
I don't
these
know
guys...
if they're actually going to tackle the whole tax code. I think they're going to tackle it as it applies to corporations.
Well, and they claim middle class, but we'll see if that actually happens. But part of the issue is with the tax codes, it's just gotten so big and cumbersome because through the years they've added things and added things and added things, and it used to be very simple, and then it's just you keep
whoever
adding things
lobbies
left and right.
for an exception, a deduction, a write-off.
Right, and that's just gotten so out of control. But the problem with right now, some of the things that they're proposing would, of course, hurt people in blue states. Like they want to get rid of the write-off tax for your mortgage when it's over $500,000, which affects people that live in very expensive...
Over $500,000?
Yeah, so people in like New York and California
I was going to say,
would be affected.
see, that's the thing. I was going to say, in California, a mortgage that is over $500,000, if you own a house in, well, I was going to say Southern California, but definitely Northern California, a house is going to be more than that.
Right, and they want to get rid of the being able to write off your state income taxes as well for your federal, and again, that tends to affect blue states more. So, they tend to be going after people that they don't really care about. And that would be a pretty big deal.
And the 60-vote thing in the Senate is going to apply to this, too.
Not for tax reform, no. If they can do it, because it's just on revenue, and they'll probably go back next week and do another vote again like they did in January and be able to do, the simple majority for these type of things. But the problem is they have to figure out, can they do it for both Obamacare repeal and for tax reform, and that's where they're going to run into the challenge. And if they couldn't do Obamacare repeal, they're certainly not going to be able to do a bill that they can do tax reform and Obamacare repeal in the same.
I think we're going to
majority.
see the Republican Party like crumble from the inside, where we're going to have the the Tea Party wing versus the establishment, and they're never going to agree.
Versus the populism side.
We're definitely, you're definitely running into those factions because, you have your sort of the establishment GOP, as Steve Bannon calls them, and you have your Tea Party, but then you also have the Trump people, which, being a Tea Party person, if you're actually sticking to what you believe in, you are not a Donald Trump person. To me, the ultimate Tea Party guy is Rand Paul. And and Ted Cruz, and they are not Trump guys. They kind of pretend to be. Well, Ted Cruz definitely pretends to be, but
he is one. He is a poster child
for a Trump guy.
For Tea Party.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Though, but he's not really a Trump guy, is what I'm saying.
No.
But he's pretending to be right now because it's better for his career.
I see.
And also because Trump knows that his dad tried to have Castro killed. Which doesn't sound like a terrible thing, but that's all right. It's apparently fake news. Anthony in the booth, my understanding is that we have some late-breaking musical news update that we can share with the audience. Please let me know if that's true. I hate to lie to the audience, although it has happened before. Let's hear it right now, then. Oh, well, there you go. There's our update that wasn't clunky at all. Apparently, Former State Chief Justice Roy Moore has won the Republican nomination for the U.S. Senate in Alabama. Voters brushed aside pleas from President Trump himself and millions in ads from establishment Republicans and chose a brash and controversial conservative. This is the confusing thing about this, because depending on where you are in the political spectrum, it's like Trump wanted this guy, but the establishment wanted the guy. So who wanted Luther Strange? I mean, let's be honest. Who doesn't want to go out and get some Strange from time to time? But who wanted Roy Moore? And who is happy about this?
Steve Bannon.
Steve Bannon.
Well, that's why it happened.
Right.
I guess is because Bannon has more pull than Trump at this point. You know, I guess Breitbart.com reaches into more homes than at Real Donald Trump. Yeah, I just gave him a plug. Blakey needs it. So, Scott, we were talking a little bit about this before the show started, and so for the benefit of the audience who couldn't hear us,
right.
Talk a little bit about who he was and what you think about Roy Moore beating Luther Strange.
Well, first of all, no relation to me. I just have to put it out there. Disclaimer.
Oh my God! Every time I introduce you, I should play the Andrea True connection more. I didn't.
That's
even
true.
Yeah,
that's a great intro for me.
All right. Remember that for next week, Anthony.
But Roy Moore, yeah, you're right. I mean, first of all, you would think Moore would be the perfect kind of guy for Trump. He's brash.
He seems like a Trump guy.
He's not. He doesn't conform to the rules. He was the former.
He's an asshole, and he may or may not be a racist. He seemed like
maybe exactly
may or may
like
not. That's all I said.
Perfect Trump guy.
Yeah.
He was the former Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court. He was removed twice. Once back in 2003 when he had the Ten Commandments, and he said he's going to have the Ten Commandments statue out there, and he wanted to have them up, even though there's separation of church and state. So he refused to have it taken down. So he was removed the first time. Then the second time happened in
How did he get back in?
People voted him back in. They just seemed to love this guy.
They vote in their Chief Justice?
Yes, as you tend to do.
This is Alabama.
Yes, and they do that in a lot of states too, actually.
But voters know the law enough to know. Oh,
no.
Okay,
geez.
when
you vote for your justices a lot, you know, when you think about judges
and I know it's a very
else.
different kind of office, but when the District of Columbia reelected Marion Barry as mayor, I was just like, all right, no one's ever paying attention to anything.
No.
They just vote for somebody.
Well, they do because they're like incumbent, or if they have a letter next to their name, they're like, great, you know, if it's an R or D, depending where you live.
That was the plot of that Eddie Murphy movie, Distinguished Gentleman. He had the same name as a guy who died, so he put himself on the ballot, and then he went to Congress, which is why I'll change my name as soon as somebody dies. That's terrible. Anyway, you were explaining this in real terms.
The second time, 2016, he was removed for defying the marriage equality order from the Supreme Court nationwide, and he had told clerks in the state of Alabama, you know, you don't have to issue these licenses, which of course you do because that is federal law. So he was removed again, but now he's found his next job as being the next senator of the state of Alabama.
Because odds are the state of Alabama, and you said who the Democrat was, but I've already
Doug
forgotten.
Jones.
Doug Jones. And Doug Jones just doesn't have the sound of somebody that people are going to get excited about, you know? Like, can I talk to you for a few minutes about Doug Jones? No, you cannot.
But it's a good, very Anglo name if you're, you know, in Alabama. Crazy spelling.
I guess.
Easy.
But, you know, Roy Moore is a celebrity, basically.
Right.
That's why Luther Strange lost, not because President Trump likes Dr. Strange or whatever he is.
But
anyway.
you know, but Strange was the guy that filled in, so he is the acting senator right now. So you would think a little bit of incumbency because he filled in when Jeff Sessions moved up to Attorney General. So you would think, besides Trump endorsing him, the fact that he was sort of the incumbent now, that he would have had a little bit more of an upper hand. But he's not a very good charismatic campaigner like Roy Moore is. He's not crazy and over the top. He's kind of mild mannered.
People obviously want crazy and over the top.
Do.
I mean, look at our recent elections. They definitely don't want mild mannered.
No.
So, you know, the right, the conservatives will say that there's no trend in these special elections. But Scott, what are you seeing in some of these special elections?
Well, if you really want to look at the big map and you see across the country...
Oh, could you do another map for us like you did on election night?
Democrats are now 7-0 in special elections, picking up GOP seats, and the GOP is now zero when it comes to picking up Democratic seats. But now Democrats 7-0, and in fact, they just won one down in Florida tonight. That was a Republican-held seat before, and they also won one in New Hampshire where Trump had won that district by 23 points.
Wow.
So those are big numbers to be 7-0 at this point. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that sounds like fake news to me.
I know.
You know, just saying that they lost everything and didn't win anything, that just sounds like fake news.
Yeah.
Well, we'll obviously keep an eye on that. And I didn't even know about those other elections, the ones that you mentioned, Florida and New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Yeah.
What do we have coming up? Anything soon? Any more of these, or are we just getting close enough to real election day now?
Well, we're getting there. I mean, now and it was funny because Trump also tweeted it incorrectly. The special election now between Doug Jones, Democrat, and Roy Moore is in December in Alabama, not November. He said go out and vote for Roy in November. So, but it's in December. So, you know, we have a couple. The big elections coming up, really, much like in 2009, are going to be the gubernatorial elections in Virginia and New Jersey, which will be in November, because that's sort of the first big test to kind of see where, you know, you can see where people are headed. Is Virginia going to stay with a Democratic governor? Is New Jersey now going to have a Democratic governor after Chris Christie? And how's that going to start looking as you move forward into 2018?
I'm a little worried about
statewide.
Chris Christie because he's abandoned his hope for being an afternoon sports host on WFAN, the sports talk radio station in New York. And I feel like, I don't know what I'm basing this on, but I feel like when he's depressed, he eats his feelings. So I feel like he's just going to let himself go. And I'm just worried.
I don't want to laugh.
But that's
it's what I do.
That's the slogan.
So that's why I can't laugh.
It's definitely what I do.
That's my vice.
Yeah. So I'm a little worried about him, but I hope he finds his next thing. He didn't do well. We talked about this on the show. He did not do well filling in as a sports talk host because everybody just wanted to call him a jerk and talk about how he closed down traffic on the George Washington
and the
Bridge.
beach. Let's not forget the beach.
With his family, and he's like, well, when you're governor, you can sit on the beach. And I was like, well, that's not what you do. Anyway, I really wish that Drexel was here for this story. Apparently, Trump staffers use private email servers. And if our friend Stephen Helmkamp was here with us, and he's not dead, he just doesn't do the show.
I was like, rest in peace.
He would say
from the show.
He would say to Drexel, I thought we didn't care about emails. But Drexel would say that, well, now we have to care about them. And that's the whole point, is that everything was like, well, these emails are so important. And these aren't like low-level staffers in the Trump administration. So at least 6 top aides to President Trump reportedly used personal, private email accounts for White House business. And the New York Times first reported Jared Kushner, Steve Bannon, and Reince Priebus. All right, so those are basically, other than Mike Pence, those are the 3 top staffers that were doing
and
this.
his daughter, and Ivanka.
Well, and we get to Gary Cohn, Steve Miller, and Ivanka. All people who you think should have known this was a major campaign issue for Hillary. You know, it was the thing that Trump really leaned on. I don't know how much it made a difference, but it's the thing he really leaned on. And they all did it.
Which is a nice distraction over the weekend to go after his base, going back to the sports stuff to avoid the private email thing that was starting to come out on Friday.
I mean, the real problem is the New York Giants are 0-3. That's what he should have really focused on. But instead, he should have obviously created as much distance to this. And Chelsea, I know you're not surprised that this happened because nothing surprises you anymore. I have to be surprised that these people did it. You know, people just because. You figure if you're going to look at anybody in 2020, even though Scott's convinced he won't be able to run for re-election.
I don't think he won't even be around in 2020.
Wait, he'll still be alive.
I assume. I'm not going to say.
Well, not if Kim Jong-un
I can't. I can't claim that he for any health reasons or anything else. I'm saying as president,
he will not be president, is what you're trying to say. I'm trying to get that on the record. That's what you're saying. That he will be out of office.
Correct.
He'll be at the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. Just hanging out. But I think these are all the people that they would look at, when you're digging for dirt.
Well, I think the base, Trump's base, might say, well, this is their first time in government. This is the first time that they've ever had emails in government, and it takes a while to learn, right?
I would actually go beyond that and say his base just doesn't care. And that's part of the reason. And I think they think that they're above the law because they always have. And they think they can do whatever they want and get away with it because up to this point they have. And his base doesn't care. He could do whatever he wants and they will still back him up. Yeah. They don't care.
So that's rough. But then I would say the fact that Reince Priebus is in there, it's like
he should have known better.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just have 3 words that I say to all of them: lock them up, lock them up. All of them. They should go. No, I mean,
They will soon enough, though. So,
you're like, just for the other stuff.
Ooh, today,
just
speaking
that
of lock
long
'em up,
list.
Today, the IRS gave Trump's documents over to Mueller.
Oh, I did not hear this.
Yeah.
See?
So okay, does this mean there's going to be some report that comes out at the end of the Mueller investigation, and the IRS documents will be exhibits attached to it? You think?
I hope so. I hope so.
Well,
One can
we'll keep you on that beat. Also, the political beat. Tuesdays at 6:00 Pacific
Nice
on
little-
Great
AfterBuzz
little,
TV.
yeah, it's a great teaser.
Do what I
Great
can.
segue.
We won't dwell on this, but just a fascinating story, and well, I would say it's human tragedy, but it's just human patheticism. Anthony Weiner, 21 months in prison with the name Weiner. 21 months. I was going to say that won't be fun for him, but you know what? Who knows? Maybe this is what he's looking for. I would have also figured that, maybe he realized, like, wow, I kind of skirted something here, no pun intended. I got away with something, and I'm just going to stay on the straight and narrow. And what was because if he just chatted with another grown adult woman, it would have just been like, oh, that's what he does. But he had to, like, go a little bit further and then sexed a 15-year-old girl out of state. He didn't even he wasn't even smart enough to do it in state.
Right. He crossed state lines.
Come
on.
There's no 15-year-olds in New York no, that's a joke.
No.
Believe me, that's a joke. I'm going to have a little girl at the end of the year, so I'm just joking about that part. But it's just like, clearly he has a problem.
Right.
And this is the sort of thing that you don't usually think of as a problem, like dirty texting, but he just can't stop himself. And he needed, I guess some people would say 21 months is not long enough for what he did, by the way.
That was actually on the lower end of the sort of spectrum of what he could have received. I think he was surprised because he was bawling his eyes out. And
pun intended. So, I knew that would make her laugh. That's why I said it.
And he and his lawyers are saying, well, he got so much time because of who he is, being a celebrity and all. Is he?
That's not the kind of celebrity you want to be,
right.
but yeah.
But I think it was in the judge's decision. It did say, that in different words, because you are who you are.
Yeah.
A former public official.
Right, and because it's a federal sentence, they can only knock off 15% of that sentence for good behavior. So he's going to still be there for more than a year and a half, no matter what happens. And by the way, who thinks he's going to behave well in prison? Because I don't.
I don't either. And he needs help. I mean, he really does need therapy and mental health help. So I hope he does get that, to be honest.
We got only a couple more minutes and a few things to talk about. Roger Stone has denied any involvement with Russia during the 2016 presidential election. He said, while some may label me a dirty trickster, there's one trick that is not in my bag, and that's treason. All right, good enough for me. He didn't have anything to do about it.
That was nicely worded.
You
know what?
He does know how to put words together.
You
right,
know
for
what
sure.
Smells bad to me.
Oh, I was like, what spells?
What smells?
Did you know, apparently, that Roger Stone and Paul Manafort are boyhood friends?
Yes, and they were business partners, and they're, like that. Well, for people on iTunes, I cross my fingers because they're very tight.
So, yeah, the guilt by boyhood
like I said, you can always
association.
trust anyone with a Richard Nixon tattoo on their back. I know it makes me feel a lot better. That's trustworthy.
Is it Nixon's face?
Yeah. It's
Oh, that can.
so, I mean,
Did you ever see
trustworthy right there.
the Netflix movie Get Me Roger Stone?
I haven't, and you've told me
I
on
know,
this
I
show
haven't
to
either.
see it.
I'm so bad, and I need to see
also
it.
haven't seen the Anthony Weiner one though, which this also reminded me of. And
but I am watching the Vietnam War.
Ken Burns, of course.
Epic and amazing and
Don't
very,
worry,
very long.
don't spoil it for me. I don't want to know how it ends.
You don't want to know how the war ends. No.
And then on this same, you mentioned your friend Paul Manafort, Democratic Senator from Connecticut Richard Blumenthal said he is 99% sure that Manafort and Flynn will face criminal charges. That's great, although I'm like 100% sure that Richard Blumenthal lied about his service in Vietnam. But you know what? That's fine. 99% sure is still good from that guy, I guess. But Paul Manafort, by all accounts, is in an amazingly good mood and still entirely loyal to the president, despite having been informed by Special Counsel Robert Mueller that he will be indicted. And according to Roger Stone, Manafort does not want to go down in history as John Dean. So see, there's all the... it all ties together.
What?
That's a Nixon.
Nixon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, I think that Manafort just expects Trump to pardon him, so that's why he's not that worried about it. I mean,
Right.
So, I mean, Scott, and I'll obviously let you have your thoughts on this, Chelsea, but Scott, is that what you figure?
No, that's exactly
that's
why
why he's
I think
got his feet up.
That's why he doesn't care.
He's like, Anthony Weiner's going to do more time than I
Right.
am.
Yeah, no,
So-
absolutely. Yeah,
so-
he just thinks he's going to be pardoned, and he's
Yeah.
99% correct.
Unless they can drag this whole legal process out for 3 more years.
No, we need to get Trump out before then,
Yeah.
and then
If you believe
then
Scott,
let everyone else.
What's the
get
timeline right
indictments.
now, according to you, Scott? When will Trump stop being president? Will he be president in January? 2018
or 2018? Oh, that's
Yeah.
cutting it really close.
Yeah.
I was hoping he'd be gone by then, but maybe we'll have to
Probably
wait until
by now.
2019.
Like nobody's going to do anything until after the holidays.
Right,
so like
it's
in the new year.
busy time of year. Lots
So
of
a year
parties and
from
events.
now, how about that?
I'd love it to be the case.
Okay.
but we'll see.
I got a question from
Yes.
Cherville, Texas, asking if I would represent Spicer if it gave me answers to Russia.
Oh, I see. As a recovered lawyer, sure.
Interesting
Well, it depends on what he knows,
question.
and
Right.
but I mean, yeah, I guess as a lawyer,
That's like the George W. Bush thing from
But
last
then,
year.
but then, if I was his lawyer and I found something out, I couldn't do anything with
yeah,
it.
that's true.
Right.
Oh, so that'd be too much. Well, the final story that we have here, because we only have less than 2 minutes, Saudi Arabia has allowed women to drive. Meaning that there's a great market if you have joke books from the 50s about what terrible drivers women are. But hey, congratulations,
They're
Saudi
in the
Arabia.
20th century
Welcome
now.
to the 20th century.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're almost 20 years into the 21st century. And somehow, these are our closest allies in that part of the world, which, I don't know, we'll just tell you how fucked up the rest of that part of the world is, that these are the good guys. And, look, any step in any direction that's positive is great. But, the fact that someone named King Salman had to do this, and, a majority of scholars deemed the change legitimate under Sharia law, you're just... And by the way, women are not equal yet. In June, they can drive. So in 9 months, you'll be able to drive a car. So congratulations, Saudi Arabia. That's a great way to go out, isn't it? Anyway,
Go out.
Go out.
well, for the show,
Oh, I know. So
Yeah.
it's like we're Saudi Arabia going.
yeah. And well, and look, there's a very big ocean between us and the finish
That's right,
line, which
so.
President Trump is. Do you think President Trump realizes that Puerto Rico is in some way affiliated with the United
I don't
States?
think he.
way.
I don't think he realized.
realizes it
until
at
someone had
all.
to remind him
Yeah,
today.
That's why I worded it like that, because it's like just in some way.
When he did
you
the
know?
press conference, I think
Yeah.
this morning someone had to tell him, by the way, Puerto Rico is part of the U.S. just
and he's
FYI.
like, I think I'd know if that
and
was
he
the case.
still didn't really make
Yeah.
a good case for it in the press
Do
conference
you,
today.
do you think that this could be Trump's Katrina?
Yes. Yes.
Here's the thing.
It's just different.
It's a lot different, and I think Katrina was on TV constantly, and it's not that Puerto Rico isn't on TV. It's not the same.
No, it's not,
And-
and it's easier for people, even the media, to forget
and
because of
there-
that big ocean.
Yeah, and
they'll
there-
forget,
and
which is
there-
the sad thing.
There aren't as many voters there. Anyway, we are out of time.
Not- many.
But they'll move
None.
to the mainland, and
Oh, yeah, watch out.
Yeah, we'll have them talk about relocating.
Well, we are out of time. So thanks
good.
for everybody who joined us in the chat and everybody watching live. We'll be back next Tuesday, October 3rd, right after the political beat with Chelsea Galicia and Drexel Hurd. Drexel, we hope to see you next week, but we will be here for Scott Moore, S-Man80, Chelsea Galicia at Chelsea Galicia. I'm Christian Bladt at Christian DMZ. Don't forget to follow the show at Trump Report ABTV, and we will see you next Tuesday night.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.